Tra-la-la-la-la, spring is in the air, and I'm the thunder with nothing much to say. Except for this review. Franklin the Green Knight.
Wake up!
This is the first Franklin movie, and the first of the 4 specials. Released on direct-to-video and DVD in 2000, Franklin the Green Knight was basically an attempt to make a movie out of the original book, Franklin's Baby Sister. So Nelvana tossed in a folktale, an adventure quest, yeah, Turtle Lake Treasure was one thing, and, believe it or not, 3 songs, which includes the cast singing along. Yes, people, yes! If you can believe it, the first Franklin cartoon special is in fact a musical. But I can assure you, it's way better than an attempt to make any Ninja Turtles musical. So let's not waste any time. To celebrate
20 years
of the cartoon, we're coming out of our shells this spring to look at a movie that ends unusually long winters. My loyal subjects, I give to you Franklin and the Green Knight. On guard! So Nelvana really wants to let us know that this is the first Franklin special by having the old lady narrator Shirley Douglas reprise her role from the original cartoon.
Franklin and the Green Knight. Franklin could
count by twos and tie his shoes.
He loved...
Yeah, so not only has this gotten rather stale at this point, but even preschoolers should be asking this question. What shoes? Does he even wear shoes? No! Nobody does! We always see footwear in the original books, such as cleats and slippers, but we get nothing in the series. Except for those snow boots that Franklin wears. Oh, and ice skates. I guess those count for something. Anyways, we start with Franklin and his friends playing in the snow, and when he shows them 4 snow turtles he made, he tells them that his mom is expecting a baby in the spring. Now, if you've seen my top 10 Butt Monkey Franklin episodes, you'll know about comparisons I make to any book counterparts, and this movie is no exception. In the original book, Franklin's Baby Sister, we see Franklin's reaction when he learns that he'll be a big brother soon. This movie seems to skip that part, despite that Nelvana was trying to extend the original story. And when Beaver says that babies have cons as well as pros, we get the first musical number. While the characters have sang in the cartoon series, this movie still counts as the first Franklin musical.
Hey Franklin, I've got a sister. I hug her when she cries. Then when she's feeling better, she hits him in the eye. Beaver?
Yeah, in case it's not striking you just yet, Beaver kind of acts like a jerk-ass for, I'd say, the first act. Yeah, and you thought Bear being out of character in Turtle Lake Treasure was one thing.
Hey Franklin, I got a brother. We like to play hide and seek. And if you're not too careful, he bonks you on the beak. Ow! Beaver.
Wow, you're an asshole.
The thing we like about brothers and sisters. I can't think of anything.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Beaver, but don't you have a little brother in the Back to School special? I think you're just insulting babies now.
Checky up. Now, Franklin, everybody knows the first thing about babies is that they get all the attention.
You know, you'd think that Bear would be able to teach Franklin what he learned from the episode Franklin and the Baby. Also, in the original book, Franklin had practiced with babies by playing with Bear's baby sister Beatrice. How much do you want to bet this isn't going to be brought up in the movie? I mean, at all.
When they're born, they cuddle up close. They're clutchy and clingy, and that's why they're gross. They squirm a lot and scream a lot. They think and drink and stink a lot. They cry, they wail, and sometimes weep. And the next thing you know, they're sound asleep. And then they'll sob and always spit and bang and stomp and throw a fit. They make all kinds of noise and goo. And then it gets all over you. They slurp.
Stir whip, stir what?
Hey! Wait a minute. When I get a brother or sister, I'll be as happy as can be. Even if they cry, whine, slobber, bite, drink, stink, stomp, spit, and goo, they'll still be family.
And that's what's important.
Franklin's gonna be a big brother. Big brother Franklin. Big brother Franklin. Big brother Franklin.
2 months later, Franklin is concerned over a seemingly endless winter. He should try living here in New England, especially Maine. We get snow in April. That'll drive him crazy.
The baby is due next month.
whether spring comes or not.
Wait a minute. Where's the egg? Because, you know, turtles don't give birth. Turtles lay eggs. Where's this one? Well, it appears that in both the original book and this movie, Mrs. Turtle is giving birth to her baby instead of laying an egg and keeping it nice and warm.
How the fuck is that possible?
Now we all know turtles lay eggs, and as much as I understand why this whole thing was done this way, it still makes no sense. Wow, talk about a miscarriage.
Hate. Yummy.
Maybe we'll have to wait for the Green Knight to bring spring to Woodland.
The Quest of the Green Knight.
I remember that story. You haven't read it to me in a long time.
So this is where the movie's title comes in. It appears that this Green Knight is a fantasy character who embarks on a quest to end winter and bring forth spring. And he's a frog. Is it just me, or do I know of a frog knight who came before this movie was released? Why, it's Glenn from Chrono Trigger, and he's got that uber cool theme song too.
For I am the bravest knight in all the land. The people will cheer no one but me.
Methinks we may have taken an unwanted direction, sire.
And methinks I hear something. Or someone. Hark, squire. Someone needs my help.
Holy shit, a griffin! An honest-to-God griffin! This story just got interesting. So the Green Knight scares off the griffin without a fight. Yeesh, feathers all ruffled up there, Gilda? And the denizen repays him.
For deep in the forest, where the sun rises and the rainbow ends, is a cherry tree as old as time itself. Take of its blossoms and scatter them about thy land. Spring will come.
It's a fantasy story in a magical world, so I guess I can buy that. Jesus!
Sire.
Squire.
Anyway. The Tree Guardian senses the Green Knight's selfish motivations and deems him not worthy of so much as touching the sacred cherry blossoms. But you know, I would deem this story not worthy if biting a dragon's tail scares it off like that. Even a dragon in the Page Master would only get angry if its tail was bitten. The Green Knight then shows humility and is then allowed to take the mystical cherry blossoms, and they are used to magically bring forth spring. Not bad, but I prefer Love Will Thaw from the last 10 minutes of Frozen. Shut up! You brought on the movies hate yourselves! The next day we see that Beaver isn't the only character out of place. Snail is not looking forward to Franklin's baby sister arriving, so much so that he hopes spring doesn't come. That won't necessarily stop the baby from being born, dumbass. But it seems that Snail's friendship with Franklin is the thing he's worried about falling apart. Yeah, remember when Bear got jealous of Franklin warming up to Samantha in Turtle Lake Treasure? In this movie, in a way, Snail has inherited the close friend role, which leads me to say that I probably should have mentioned his role here in my top 10 best Franklin characters review.
I can wear my tutu. That's what real dancers wear.
You guys probably haven't noticed, but Beaver seems to hint at being slightly vain. Next up, the second musical number, which is actually a background song, but the kids get to sing their own version. Eventually.
Bring on the air, and bring up the sun. Let's bring in the spring, and set that cold stuff on the run. All of us search for one special thing, 'cause we hope to find the first sign of spring. Everybody now. Springtime, spring, where are you? Springtime, come on spring, let's have some fun. Springtime, spring, where are you? Springtime, come on spring, let's have some fun.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Goose is actually flying! So after the song, Franklin suggests that Spring needs to be woken up, and his friends sing their own rendition of Spring, Where Are You?
Empty.
Come on, Spring, let's have some fun.
But of course, Old Man Winter dishes out some punishment, leaving the kids dejected. Also, the idea of baby showers doesn't seem to suit Franklin's friends very well.
The baby's not even born yet, and already your family's throwing parties for it? Enjoy your parents while you still can.
What an asshole!
Yeah, and I thought Bear was a jerk in Turtle Lake Treasure. This is a new low.
Bah. Dumb luck. Kids today, what the fuck is wrong with them?
Once the baby's born, your mom and dad will be so busy, they won't have any more time for you. Gaga. Gaga.
What's your problem? You both think you can do whatever you want. Well, I'm sick of it.
So Franklin is then seen as the only kid at his mom's baby shower.
They outgrow clothes so quickly, sometimes you wish they just stayed babies and never grow up.
Beaver was right. Grown-ups do like babies best.
I have a question, Franklin. Why don't you just tell your parents how you're feeling? I mean, it worked for Bear and Franklin the baby, right?
I can't do anything right. Being a big brother is awful. Oh.
Yeah, points off for smiling. But fuck that noise. Bear told his parents and Dr. Bear admitted he was right to a fault.
Since the baby came, you've been so busy with her, you forgot all about me.
Yes, I know we've been busy. But your baby sister needs a lot of attention.
Just like you did when you were a baby.
It seems to me that Beaver and Rabbit gave Franklin the wrong idea. It's not so much that babies get a lot of attention, but rather they need a lot of attention. And there's a fine line between get and need. There's a lot of work that goes into parenting. Babies need food, they need water, they need milk, and yes, this means breastfeeding, so suck it, Republican sleazebags. They need baths, they need their diapers changed, and of course, they need pampering. It's a lot of work, and hard work at that. The last scene in Franklin and the Baby shows that Bear has helped out around the house, including helping to raise his baby sister alongside his parents. I understand that maybe Nelvana didn't want to repeat the episode, but they didn't have to make the characters of Paulette Bourgeois and Brenda Clark into jerks about it. So of course, when Franklin overhears that even the adults seem to be concerned about Woodland's never-ending winter, he decides to fill the Green Knight's shoes and embark on the quest of the Green Knight, to bring spring to Woodland himself. But like the story, he seems to be in it for himself, and while this movie doesn't seem to be on repeat regarding Franklin and the Baby, the story of the Green Knight is pretty much repeated to us throughout the second act of the movie. Nelvana is hypocritical. Good to know. Franklin sets out on his quest with Snail as his squire, intending to reenact the quest of the Green Knight. So Franklin's quest pretty much plays out exactly like the story. First he rescues a denizen in need, except that the denizen, Mr. Gopher, gets himself stuck again after telling Franklin which way to go, but is then frightened by a bald eagle flying overhead, and of course strays off the path in the process. Considering who is president of our country now, it's not a good time to be afraid of bald eagles. Or should I just call them bold eagles? Speaking of, here's Baldy, representing our nation's strong will with truth, justice, and the American way. Franklin eventually meets the bald eagle named Eagle for the first time, and she agrees to give him a lift to the cherry orchard. So Franklin and Snail are one step closer, but Franklin decides to part ways because he thinks Snail is being a wuss. And this leads to the third musical number, Franklin and Snail's duet.
I guess he doesn't need me anymore. I guess I'm just getting in his way. I wonder if someday he will remember.
I wonder if they'll stop and think of me.
I'll miss riding up there on his shell. 'Cause from there I get a lovely view.
I think I'll go and find my best friend Snail.
Okay, Snail has definitely inherited the best friend role, even if it's just for this movie. Also, you might have noticed that with very little background music, Franklin and Snail seem to sound slightly off-key in their singing. But hey, at least they're trying, and they're just kids. Cut them some slack. Besides, it's gotta be better than listening to this.
Why don't you grow, oh, oh, grow, oh, oh, grow, grow.
So Franklin returns to rescue Snail from going up the creek without a paddle. And they reach the cherry orchard, but seem to come across as uninvited guests. This is Mrs. Warbler, and she's very protective of her eggs. Of course, Franklin still thinks he's reenacting the quest of the Green Knight, thus mistaking her for the tree guardian. And also, he seems to have learned nothing from the story, wanting to save Woodland from eternal winter just so he could be some kind of hero.
We come from a place where it is still winter. We seek cherry blossoms from your tree.
Oh, guardian.
With these blossoms, I will bring spring to Woodland. Then everyone will think I'm the bravest and the greatest and pay attention to me.
That's not a very good reason for wanting the blossoms, Franklin.
Yes, but
you're acting just like the Green Knight did in the story. Selfish. Franklin, I thought you wanted to bring spring to save Woodland.
I'm going to watch over the eggs like the guardian asked.
If you're not careful, the tree guardian is going to think you don't deserve any cherry blossoms.
I deserve them.
I can't believe he went to the actor's studio.
So while watching Mrs. Warbler's eggs, Franklin and Snail have a run-in with two armadillo brothers, and...
Bet your parents spend a lot of time with the baby instead of you.
Babies are pretty helpless. They need the attention.
There you have it. Babies get a lot of attention because they need it.
Hey, who do you love more? Your mom or your dad?
That's a silly question. I love them both.
Exactly. And my parents have plenty of love for both me and my little brother. Nothing to worry about. Right?
Right.
This is pretty much what Franklin said at the end of the first song, that no matter what happens, they'll always be a family. But you know what? Let me try to answer Armadillo's question myself.
Hey, who do you love more? Your mom or your dad?
Please don't go into it. It's just too painful.
So after that meaningful encounter, Franklin and Snail fully reconcile, and Franklin decides to finish his quest to ease the worrying of Woodland's denizens. And just before his family and friends decide to start looking for him, Eagle brings him back safe and sound with the cherry blossoms in tow. One more for the road, Baldy. The mascot of our country. And of course, when Franklin spreads them on the snow, nothing happens because there's no such thing as magic. Except for that. However, spring does arrive on its own, and Franklin's class has their own reenactment of the Green Knight, which of course we don't see, but we are treated to an after-party scene.
Oh my, it's time.
It's time?
Oh my gosh, it's time.
Dr. Bear, it's time.
It's time.
It's time?
It's time. It's time.
It's time. It's time.
Is it time?
Except that Mrs. Turtle can't be pregnant because turtles like eggs, you! Never mind. And so, instead of Franklin and Granny going to the hospital like in the original book, Franklin's baby sister, instead Franklin's parents return from the hospital with his newborn baby sister, and Franklin decides to name her after Great Aunt Harriet.
Great Aunt Harriet always gives the perfect present. She gave you that Green Knight book, Mom, and she gave the baby this mobile, and, well, the baby is like a perfect present.
I think it's a lovely idea. Harriet it is.
By the way, we actually do see Great Aunt Harriet as a character in the original book, Franklin's Christmas Gift, and she's illustrated to look exactly like Granny. Just a little bit of trivia.
This is for you, Harriet. By the way, I'm Franklin. I'm your big brother. That's all she wrote, folks.
So which is considered the bigger adventure? This or Turtle Lake Treasure? I'm going to go with the latter, but this movie is certainly not that far off. Being the first Franklin movie, you almost expect it to break the mold of the cartoon series, and it certainly does. It not only has adventure, but it dishes out important lessons on selflessness, friendship, and of course, family. Unfortunately, like in Turtle Lake Treasure, we can't avoid having a character who's a jerk, and Beaver, sadly, plays that part, and Rabbit to some extent. While still not completely unlikable, it is kind of a letdown, but more like a nitpicking letdown. And I guess the Green Knight story is okay, and it does intend to teach a lesson in selflessness, but for me, there's only one real Green Knight. Frog from Chrono Trigger. This may be Franklin's first movie, but the one that actually made it to theaters in Canada and France was Turtle Lake Treasure, and I consider that a real accomplishment for a series of children's books.
I'm the Thunder, and I bid thee farewell.
Enjoy your parents while you still can.